They say hell is other people, but what they never tell you is that hell starts when people say nothing at all. Not when they curse you, spit at you, shove you into lockers, or laugh when you bleed. That kind of cruelty has sound, and sound is something you can fight. But silence? Silence is a noose that tightens around your soul. It doesn't scream, it waits, it watches, it listens as you scream inside, unheard. And in Carrie, Stephen King doesn't write a monster. He doesn't summon something that crawled from beneath the floorboards or out of an ancient book. He writes about us. He writes about what we become when we choose silence over courage, indifference over kindness, and bystanders over saviors. Carrie is not just a horror story, it's a confession. The first horror isn't the blood, it's not the telekinesis. It's a bathroom, a cold, tiled tomb where teenage girls become wolves, where laughter cuts like razors and the most natural moment in a girl's life becomes a spectacle of shame. Carrie White bleeds. Not for the last time, but for the first time publicly, and in her horror she reaches out. But there's no hand, no warmth, only the sound of laughter. That moment, that echoing chorus of cruel glee, is the genesis of everything, not because it's violent, but because it is so normal. The first time you watch it, you might even smirk, because we've been taught that awkwardness is funny. But when the laughter dies, the silence is all that remains. That's the true curse of Carrie. We recognize ourselves in every person who walked away, every teacher who said, "Grow up," every student who didn't speak up, every parent who didn't ask. Carrie White is a mirror, a cracked one, sure, but a mirror all the same. When she looks out from under those stringy bangs with those wide, aching eyes, she isn't asking for power. She's asking for mercy. And when that mercy doesn't come, the power fills the void. That's the deal we make with the universe, isn't it? If love is denied, rage will rent the space, and so it does. And the town pays the rent in blood. But this isn't just a tale of revenge. It's about how society builds its monsters from the inside out. It starts with Margaret White, the mother, a monument to religious fervor so rigid it fractures everything it touches. Margaret doesn't raise Carrie. She buries her, alive in shame and scripture. She teaches her daughter that her body is evil, that her thoughts are sin, that kindness is a trap laid by Satan. And when you grow up believing that every impulse is a test and every kindness is a lie, you learn to suffer in silence. Margaret doesn't scream all the time. She whispers, she prays, and Carrie learns not to cry out until she can cry out no longer. This is what generational trauma looks like when it grows teeth. It walks like a girl, it talks like a victim, and then it burns the world down. But still, we watched her burn it down, and some of us cheered. Not because it was right, but because it was relatable. Because haven't we all, at one time or another, fantasized about vengeance? About retribution for the slights, the shame, the silent suffering? Haven't we all stood on the edge of our own proverbial prom stage, soaked in emotional gasoline, just waiting for someone to strike the match? Carrie White isn't frightening because she's evil. She's terrifying because she's understandable. And that's what scares us most. The idea that under the right pressures, we too might burn. The silence in Carrie isn't just social, it's systemic. The school sees a damaged girl and does nothing. They punish a few students with meaningless detentions, but they don't change anything. They don't ask where Carrie goes when school ends, or what she believes about herself, or who taught her that menstruation is sin. The silence of the system is bureaucratic, checking boxes, avoiding lawsuits, moving on. It's the silence of not my problem. And then there's the silence of the good ones, Sue Snell, the one who feels guilty, the one who tries to make it right, the one who thinks she's doing good by orchestrating a grand gesture, by lending Carrie her boyfriend for one night. But even that act of supposed kindness is a performance. Sue doesn't speak to Carrie directly. She doesn't ask her what she wants. She makes decisions around her, for her. Because even our kindness can be patronizing when it's not rooted in connection. Silence wears many masks, and when the pig's blood falls, when the laughter ignites like gasoline on nerves already raw, it's too late. There is no going back. The silence has fermented. It has grown legs and claws and fury. And when the fire comes, when the gym doors lock and the lights flicker and the screams echo off the polished floors, no one asks why anymore. They only ask how to escape. But Carrie isn't giving out pardons. Here's the thing about suppressed rage. It doesn't dissipate. It waits. It stews. It learns. Every insult becomes a brick. Every silence becomes mortar. And sooner or later, a fortress is built, not to protect, but to imprison. Carrie's power was never in her mind. It was in her containment, her ability to absorb pain like a sponge until the inevitable squeeze. And yet, even in the end, she doesn't want to destroy. She wants to go home. She wants her mother to tell her she did good. She wants to believe there's redemption. But Margaret, in her infinite piety, sees sin even in salvation. She tries to kill what she cannot understand. And Carrie, even in her most powerful moment, begs. She pleads, but Margaret doesn't hear her, because Margaret has been deaf since the day her faith drowned her empathy. The blade goes in. Carrie bleeds again. The circle closes. When the house collapses, it isn't just a structure, it's a statement that sometimes the only way out of silence is destruction, that when the world refuses to listen, the world must be silenced in turn. And that is the truest tragedy of Carrie. Not that she dies, but that she was never truly heard until she screamed with fire. This story should haunt us, not because of its gore or spectacle, but because of its familiarity. We've seen Carrie White. We were Carrie White. Or we laughed, or we stayed quiet, or we were Sue, trying too late. Or we were Margaret, thinking control was the same as care. Stephen King didn't write a monster. He wrote a mirror. And the scariest thing about mirrors, they reflect. So the next time you hear a silence too loud to ignore, break it. Because silence, more than fear, more than rage, more than blood, kills. And no one gets out of that kind of fire alive.